right. First of all, I want to say welcome to the Adulting 101 workshop. Thank you for coming out. My name is Allie Lambert. I'm the graduate assistant at the Academic Success Center. At the Academic Success Center, our mission is to help students succeed here on campus. We do things like help with adding and dropping classes, preparing course schedules, advising. We meet with students who are on academic probation, and provisionally accepted students. So kind of what we talked about, Eric and I were in the office, and we were thinking of things that you aren't really taught in high school, but it's not really addressed in college either. So you're kind of expected to know these things. So we're going to go over taxes, credit, budgeting, checking accounts, savings accounts, insurance, bills, and life after college. So taxes, has everyone filed their taxes this year? Did you have to file taxes? Do you all have jobs? No? Lucky. Well, that's good. So not everyone is required to file taxes. You do not have to file taxes if you're single and make less than $12,000 annually, or are married and make less than $24,000 combined. You will need your W-2 forms, 1098 forms, 1095 forms, 1099 forms, all of the federal government forms, and state tax forms. Keep receipts from your books, laptops, school supplies, because you can itemize those as well. Choose your method of filing. So once you have all of your forms together, you have to decide how you're going to file your taxes. You can do a paid prepared method, which is like H&R Block, or going to a private accountant and having your taxes prepared by them. Or you can do a preparation software such as TurboTax. So you'll have to see your method before you have them prepared. For more information, you can visit this link to help you understand the tax form. So the tax deadline is April 15th, which is quickly approaching. You can request an extension, but obviously that has to be done before the 15th. There are payment options available if you do owe taxes and you can't pay them at this time. Also, when you're preparing your taxes, it's important to check your withholding amount. So that's the amount of money that your company is withholding from your paycheck for taxes, to make sure that they're withholding the proper amount. And that will help you hopefully avoid paying as much next year, or even possibly get a refund. And here's another link that you can visit for more information specific to students. So the next thing I want to talk to you all about is credit. Have you all heard the word credit? Do you know what credit is? So we have a general idea. Credit is mentioned a lot in life after college. You go to apply for a loan, they check your credit. You go to apply for an apartment, they check your credit. You go to apply for a home loan, car loan, you name it, they're checking your credit. So your credit score is a predictor of how likely you are to repay a loan on time. A good credit score is vital in applying for loans, rental applications, and employment opportunities. Sometimes employers do check your credit. Say that you are applying to be a financial advisor. Would you want someone to advise you on your finances if they have a low credit score and they aren't paying their bills on time? You know what I mean? So it does make sense for employers to check it. And some insurance companies, car insurance, life insurance, things like that, they'll check your credit as well. So good credit does have benefits. Lower interest rates, better credit card offers and reward programs, and it can lead to a cheaper and easier life financially in the long run. So the credit score is determined by debt to income ratio. So that's what you make versus the bills that you have going out. Paying your bills on time, and a balance of your credit cards. You can check your credit score for free at any time on creditkarma.com, and that one is pretty accurate. And you are also eligible to receive a free copy of your credit report from each of the 3 major credit bureaus at least once every 12 months. by visiting annualcreditreport.com. So if you look at the picture I have here, it's kind of a scale of bad credit to excellent credit. So if you're in the 300 to 599 range, that's very bad. 600 to 649 is poor. And in these two, only secured loans are given. So if you move on up to fair, which is 650 to 699, and then good is 700 to 749, you'll be eligible for most loans with pretty good interest rates. Now, if you get in the green area, the very good 750 to 799 or excellent 800 to 850, this is where you're going to get your lowest possible interest rates and your best terms. So building credit. We've talked about what credit is, the factors that go in. Why is it so important to start building your credit? Obviously, when you graduate, you're going to want a home, you're going to want a car, you're going to want to apply for jobs and things like that. So you need to make sure your credit's up there. Start building your credit now while you're in school. Student loans do go towards your credit, but that does not go into effect until you begin paying on them. So while you're in school, you're not paying your student loans, so that doesn't go towards your credit. Be smart with your choice of how to build credit. So there are a lot of student credit cards available with smaller limits, so that avoids spending more than you can possibly pay back. And there are incentives to pay off the debt sooner. You can also help build your credit score by avoid charging what you know you cannot pay off in a timely manner or what you cannot afford. Always make your payments on time. Now, I realize that sometimes credit cards are essential when emergencies arise and you don't have the funds immediately to pay, say, a doctor bill or for your textbooks. And that's when your credit is really important. If you have a good credit score, then you can apply for the better interest rates and incentives. So just make sure that you're not charging, like going out on a shopping spree, getting things that you want and don't necessarily need, knowing you can't pay them back on time. Student loans. Does anyone in here have student loans? Only a few of us? Well, congratulations to the rest of you. That's awesome. Student loans, I would recommend not borrowing everything you are offered just because you can get it, because eventually you do have to pay these loans back. I know it might seem far off now while you're in school, but as soon as you start working, it's like, oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't have done that. So borrow only what you need. Begin saving now to repay the student loans when you graduate. And we'll talk a little bit more about savings in a little bit. But with student loans, the lower the interest rates, the better. Health insurance. Everyone in this room should have health insurance. I don't know if you all are aware or not, but if you do not have health insurance and you go to file your taxes, there is a penalty you'll have to pay. So health insurance is important and can save money long term by avoiding that tax penalty and costly visits to the doctor's office when you're sick and expensive prescriptions. I have health insurance, and just to kind of give you an idea of the cost of, the cost of, your medical care, I have pretty good health insurance. I went to the doctor over spring break. I had the flu. I had to pay a $20 copay right off the bat. I had to pay about $50 after my insurance covered. I still had to pay about $50 for the flu test itself. And then I went up to CVS to pick up the Tamiflu that they prescribed me, and it was another $75. So that visit in and of itself, was pretty pricey. Imagine if I would have gotten sick without health insurance, how much that would have been out of pocket. If you don't have health insurance, you can apply for insurance through the health insurance marketplace. And that's just www.healthcare.gov. If you believe you're eligible for West Virginia Medicaid, you can visit westvirginiainroads.org and fill out that application. With Medicaid, you do not have co-pays and things like that. And if you are eligible for food stamps or assistance through the state, then you're more than likely eligible for Medicaid. You can contact your local DHHR office for information on applying for state health care assistance. So now let's talk a little bit about budgeting. Do any of you have a budget? Do you sit down with your finances and budget everything out?
What finances?
What finances? No, I feel you on that sometimes. Being a student, it's tough. So are you tired of being a poor college student? Then start budgeting now. So what you'll want to do is you'll take your total monthly income, figure out what that is. Then list out your monthly bills. How much of that income has to go towards your bills? And this, again, will be the income to debt ratio that we talked about earlier. The remaining money that you have after the bills are paid should be divided into savings and spending. So your savings is going to be obviously the money that you're putting back for those hard times. And the spending will be more for your wants, not necessarily your needs. Once you have your budget, live within your means. This is a big one. A lot of times we want to compare ourselves to our friends and we want to do everything our friends are doing, but it's essential that we live within what we're making and not try to keep up with other people. If it isn't in the budget, don't drain your savings to buy it. So I found this 50-30-20 rule while I was researching, and I thought it was a pretty cool one. So the idea of this is 50% of your income goes towards your needs. This will be your groceries, your housing, utilities, health insurance, car payment, car insurance. Then 30% of your income will go towards your wants. So that will be your shopping, dining out, hobbies, anything that you really think that you would like to have or you would like to do, but it's not essential. Then 20% goes into savings. Now I know that seems like a lot because sometimes the bills are more than 50% of your income. So adjust the numbers to fit what works for you and make sure you're getting your needs met first. Then you put a little bit towards your wants and save a little bit from every paycheck. Banking. Raise your hand if you have a banking account. Do you have checking? Savings? Anyone? Well, that's good. So a checking account is the easy access to your money. We have paper checks, these wonderful little thing called debit cards. I love mine so much. You can go to the ATM, get your cash out. This is the easy access. Now the savings account, on the other hand, does this really cool thing called draws interest. So the money is still easily accessible. You can still go and make your withdrawals or you can make a deposit into it. But the time that the money spends in there will draw interest. So essentially that's free money at the end of the month or the year. I mean, it's not a ton of money, but it does pay to have your money in a savings account. And it also keeps us from spending it, right? If we know we can't just swipe for the purchase and we have to go to the bank and withdraw it from our savings account, that does kind of help us from spending on things we might not normally do. Most banks around here have free community checking accounts for students, so if you don't have a checking account, definitely look into that. Savings accounts do have a minimum balance most of the time that must be maintained to avoid fees. So you'll need to check on that when looking into a savings account. When you're looking at checking and savings accounts, choose a bank with easy access just in case you want to leave the area or you travel. That way you'll still be able to get your money out. So life after college. How many of you are graduating this year? One? How many juniors do we have? Two? Kind of. Sophomore? Do we have any freshmen? No? Okay. So this is pretty important as you prepare to graduate. You're here on Campus Beautiful learning all the things you need when you go into your work and your first job, but the things that you do to get there are essential. Your cover letter, resume, personal statement, job applications, and interviews are all things that are going to be coming up in the near future, whether you go to grad school or you apply for jobs. So let's talk about a cover letter. How many of you have a cover letter? Just Eric? Just me and Eric? Okay. How many of you know what a cover letter is? Kind of. Did you do one in high school? Or maybe University 100? So the cover letter is the formal letter addressing the hiring official to present yourself prior to them reviewing your resume. So this is to the company that you're applying for the job. Your cover letter should get their attention at the beginning and explain why you are the best candidate and perfect fit for the company. But you also want to explain why the company is the perfect fit for you. None of us want to work at a place that we feel is not where we belong, right? We want to feel like we're useful there, we're making a difference, and that it's a good fit for us and for the company. So explain both sides of that. And remember that cover letters are as long as they need to be. So I know a lot of times you're told keep your cover letter to one page, keep it short, keep it concise, but a cover letter is actually designed for you to expand on your resume. So your resume is going to be the concise piece of information that they can see at a glance. But the cover letter is going to expand on those skills that you talk about in your resume. So if it's more than a page, that's okay. The resume. So this is the first glance that the employee is going to see. Make it count. This is your first impression on paper. Essentially, it's a sales pitch. So sell yourself well. Include all information pertinent to the job you're applying for. So you'll want to look over that job description and get the specific language out of there, and make sure you include it in your resume. So if you're applying to work at, let's say, the power company, and you have an apprenticeship with a local electrician, that's going to be important information that you want to include in your resume. You're going to include that under experience. You're going to use the specific language that the job description has. If it says a year experience working with voltage, watts, whatever, then you'll want to include that in your resume. List your education, experience, and relevant information, beginning with the most recent. So your education, your most recent education will always be, well, for you all, it will be Concord University. And then you'll list your high school, any trainings that you might have had. Uh-oh. I think I lost connection.
Try hitting escape. See if that'll. There you go. Now,
Let's see. Let's see. It wouldn't be technology if we didn't have a little. Where is start from here? Sorry.
You can go to the very bottom where that slider is.
Yeah.
And like click on that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Learn something new every day.
There you go.
Okay, so back to the resume. You'll want to list all of your education, your experience. That will include your any volunteer experience that you have, any internships, apprenticeships, things like that will go under the experience section. And you'll usually be required to list your references as well. Guys, before you list your reference on your resume, ask them if you can list them, because if they get a call from this company asking about you, you want them to be prepared and not give you, a bad review.
Also ask if they will give you a good reference.
Yes, absolutely. You don't want them to speak poorly on your behalf. So remember in your resume to make the layout clean and professional. This isn't a flyer. You're not trying to be super creative. You don't want things on there that are going to distract them from the information you're providing. So unless you're a graphic design major applying for, a job like that, then you want to keep it as clean and professional as possible. And keep it concise. Personal statement. Are any of you thinking about going to grad school? No, maybe? Okay, well, most graduate programs require a personal statement, and this is going to be basically your sales pitch to the program you're applying for. You'll include your goals, your passions, what you will bring to the program, what you're hoping to gain from the program, and what makes you a worthwhile applicant. Before you ever get an interview, this is what they're going to be looking at. So tell them why, out of the thousands of programs out there, you choose their program, why you're the best fit for that program, and the things that you plan to do once you receive that degree. Job applications. We all hope to find a job after college, right? That's the goal. That's why we're here, right? So job applications are going to be a big thing. You're probably going to put in a lot of them when you graduate, and finding a job after college, it can be difficult. So check with career services to see if employers have sent job openings to the university. Attend the career fairs here on campus. That helps you to network, to get to know other professionals in the field, and to see what's out there. Seek out companies that you would like to work for and inquire about employment opportunities. So maybe they don't have a job posting online or in the paper, but you think you would really be a good fit for this company. It's okay to inquire and see if they have any openings now or if there will be any in the near future. It also helps to get your name out there before the other applicants. Review the job posting in its entirety and submit all required documentation prior to the deadline. Don't wait until 5 o'clock the day that it's due and turn it in. Make sure you have all of your documents in order. You're generally going to be required to submit a cover letter, resume, transcripts, and your references. So make sure you have all of that together ahead of time and you beat that deadline. So you've got through the cover letter, the resume, the initial application, and now they've decided to give you an interview. This is your big shot. Be professional and be prepared when you go to your interview. Take a copy of your cover letter and resume with you to the interview in case they don't have it on hand. Prepare yourself by researching the company and knowing their mission, goals, and services that they offer. Think of questions to ask the interviewer. I know when you go to an interview, you think it's going to be questions just for you, but also show them that you have interest in the company. You know, you want to know what their goals are, where they see the direction of that company going in the next 5 years. Is there room for growth? Is this a place you can make your career? And research interview questions and begin preparing answers for those. So a lot of interviews that I've been to always ask, what are your strengths? Why are you the best applicant? What sets you apart from the other applicants? And sometimes they'll even ask the trickier questions like, can you explain your weaknesses? Or can you explain a time that you failed and how you overcame it or how you turned it around? So be prepared for questions like that. If you have your answers ahead of time, it takes a lot of the nerves away. It makes it easier to answer when you're asked rather than just being put on the spot. Be professional, arrive early. You don't want to be there right on time or 1 minute after. You want to make a good impression, show them that their time matters to you. So be there early. And I've always been told, dress for the job you want, not the job you're applying for. So if you want to be the CEO of the company and you're applying for an internship, then dress like the CEO, not the intern. It's always better to be overdressed than underdressed. Make sure your hair is fixed, you are appropriate as far as hygiene, things like that. You want to make a good impression. Take a folio or folder with you to take notes during the interview because you are probably going to be nervous. You're going to be focusing on answering rather than processing exactly what's being said. So for the questions that you ask, go ahead and write those down in your folder or your folio and have those on hand, but also feel comfortable enough to take notes about things that they mention about the company, because you can take those home after the interview and think about, is this really a place I want to work? Is this going to be the best fit? Thank the interviewer for their time and send a thank you note following the interview to show that you're grateful for their consideration and time. I work part-time at a nonprofit law firm in Princeton, and we have interns every summer from WVU Law School. We have to do interviews with them, and they are wonderful candidates. every year it always comes down to the tiniest of impressions. So like last year, it literally came down to, did the applicant send us a thank you note to acknowledge our time and consideration, because they were all equally qualified for the position. So the little details do matter. Show that you're appreciative and follow up after the interview. Here on campus, there are some contacts. Terry Harmon is in Marsh Hall, room 200, and there's her phone number and email. She can help you with your resume, your cover letter, job applications, things like that if you'd like to go into detail about it. She's the lady to ask. And then if you have questions about taxes, we do have a volunteer income tax assistance program, and you can contact the business division for more information on that. Here are some additional resources that we used in the slideshow if you'd like to visit those. Do you all have any questions for me about any of the things that we've discussed? No? Did you find the presentation helpful? Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for coming out. We appreciate your time. Oh, you have a question? Okay.
Yeah, so I'm an international student from Nigeria,
Mm-hmm.
and when you spoke about credits,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard for us to get like credit cards, and because we don't know definitely if we're going to stay in the United States or not.
Right.
And in the long run, when we decide, okay, we want to stay, we want to build a career or start a career here, we don't have that credit score to get an apartment or get a
Mm-hmm.
car or stuff like that. So how do we plan for that?
I think that your best option to plan for that would be as soon as you get closer to graduating and you make that decision and you start applying to jobs, maybe start establishing yourself here as well. So start applying for the credit cards, applying for apartments, and working on building your credit that way. Do we have any other questions? No? All right, you're free to go. Thanks again for coming. We appreciate it.